So, if you're like me, unfortunately, I hadn't really heard about the new Star Wars game coming out because I don't really play a lot of them. But I did hear about Star Wars Eclipse, and not through excited gamers talking about it coming out, but instead because of controversy. Who would have guessed? So if you've seen the news, Lucas Studio has partnered with a game studio called Quantic Dreams to make a new Star Wars game called Star Wars Eclipse. People were pretty excited to see Lucas Games announcing a new game right up until they saw that the maker of the game was actually Quantic Dream. Why is that an issue? Let's talk about it. If you're not familiar with Quantic Dream, they've made games like Fahrenheit, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human. I haven't really played those games. I had started messing with them, but the game style is just not my bag, so I never really finished them. But that's not really the issue, the games that they make. There are some people that might be excited that they're making it. There's some that won't. The issue is from coverage that happened in 2018 regarding the founders of this company. Now, the two guys that founded the company have some serious allegations against them. These allegations were put forth by three outlets in the French press: Le Monde, Canard PC, and Mediapart. And let's talk about those allegations and why you may not want to really even consider buying this game or playing it if these people produce it. So the first allegation, I kind of have mixed feelings about. I mean, people always talk about severe crunch in gaming. I know that they do make developers come in and work extra long hours as it gets close to release time to ferret out all of the issues, bugs, and make the game playable. I mean, apparently, crunch time was really successful with Cyberpunk because it came out working flawlessly. Right. But my mixed feelings about crunch are this. Gaming is not the only industry where you have ridiculous hours you have to put in. If you do accounting, my wife was an accountant for decades. Now she's moved into other things, but end of month, every last week of every month, think about that, 12 weeks a year total, she would end up, and it was really like last 2 weeks when they were taking care of year end, but they would have to close out the books, and it meant every night and every day being there from 8 a.m. to 1 or 2 in the morning to clean it up. So game makers aren't the only people that have to do this, and these are just standard practices across a lot of industries where when it comes down to close to time to having to basically close the books. If it's a game, you're closing the books on finishing the coding and getting it ready. If you're in accounting, you're doing the same thing. And there are other jobs where you do have crunch time that you have to put in extra time. So it's not really right, but in a way it is necessary in order to get things done. I mean, with accountings, you have regulators that say this shit has to be done by this time. So they've got to put the work in. So they're not in violation of regulations. With games, they have the issue of we set a date, we need to release this thing, and it needs to work. It doesn't always work. Again, look at Cyberpunk and quite a few other games that have come out with some serious issues lately. But it is the nature of the business. So, people complain about crunch, but until they figure out a way to get developers to be working out these problems all through the process and be able to produce something that works on day one so people don't flip out and demand refunds, crunch is going to be a part of the industry. And I doubt there's a single game maker out there that doesn't have crunch time. Now, the brunt of the issues that people have with Quantic Dream are the toxic workplace environment that they have allegedly fostered. Now, I say allegedly because there were 2 major litigation cases. And here's the thing. In one case, they failed. They got sued by Quantic Dream, and the media outlet in one case was unable to prove their case. and in the other, they kind of were. And the issue there is in French law, you have to be able to absolutely prove your case or it gets thrown out. And let's face it, if you're being sued for defamation, then you lost your case, then, that's not really a good sign that it's 100% true what's going on. But French law is really weird. You have a situation there where if a media outlet makes allegations, they have to be willing to also say who their sources were and have every single bit of documentation in line so that the court can actually prove that these slanderous remarks that are being made are accurate and true. Now, this is one of those things, living in America, people don't have to come forward with their sources and they don't have to be able to prove absolutely in a court of law to a jury, which I have issues with juries anyway, because let's face it, OJ got off, and a lot of people get off that actually probably did it, but, it is what we have. Now, they have the flip side where you have to absolutely prove it, and an outlet may not be willing to out their sources and either put their careers in jeopardy, maybe even their life, because who knows how some of these crazy people would react if it comes out. Their careers, everything would be destroyed. So I understand the media outlet not wanting to out their source, and I also understand the French court side where you have to prove your case if you're going to slander someone. And that, if we're being honest, that's really the way it should be. You shouldn't be able to say whatever you want about somebody, and people just say, well, it must be true because, they said it. But that's just one of those things. The French system is goofy to us, but in my opinion, it makes it more honest, where if you can't prove your case, you shouldn't have said it, and you're going to be liable for slandering somebody. Now, one outlet was able to prove their case, mostly. The other, it was thrown out, and the loss, it kind of leaves it in the air about what happened. But let's talk about what did happen, and let's consider something. From what I've read, this game started production in January of 2021, right? And these things started in 2018. These allegations and the reports that came out. So you got to question Lucas Games when it comes to picking their studio. This is stuff that's been in the news, in the know, for 3 years before the game was even begun and before they chose their studio. I know people really like to rag on Disney because of Kathleen Kennedy. They're like, oh, she's this, she's that. She's against, basically, let's face it, she's basically against heinous jackasses being heinous jackasses. That's why they kicked Gina Carano off of The Mandalorian and she won't work with Disney again. But you gotta question, did they do their research? And was it that hard to do when this stuff is sitting out there and there are cases in court? They're going to a French company. Shouldn't they go and take a look at, are there any allegations? Is there anything we should be concerned about doing business with this company? And the allegations there are crunch time, harassment, misogyny. I'm going to quote some things, and I'm going to quote them exactly as said, so excuse what I say. But this is what, like, the founder David Cage at Quantic Dream actually has allegedly said when talking about games. So first, anyway, in all my games, all women are whores. Yeah, that's an awesome quote. Great guy. It gets better. In the open space, there's a lack of tits. Dude, what is your fucking issue? And last, but definitely not least, at Quantic Dream, we don't make games for fags. Let that soak in. This guy is a misogynistic, homophobic douchebag, if all of these allegations are correct. And Disney, knowing that this stuff had been said by the guy. They should have never approached this company. Now, I know that there are Star Wars fans that will buy anything that says Star Wars. But if you know that this stuff has gone on, and you know that they've partnered with this company, knowing full well that the owners are allegedly homophobic, misogynistic douchebags, you shouldn't be giving them your money. You shouldn't be putting your money in with any company that exhibits this kind of behavior. Let's be blunt. This is way out in the open. Disney, Lucasfilm, Lucas Games, they all had enough time to do their research and find out that they were working with a company they shouldn't be working with. And if their actions with what they've done with like the Gina Carano case and other things that they've stood up for and said, we won't work with these types of people, are really reflective of that company, they shouldn't have gone in and agreed to do business with Quantic Dream. The fact that either they didn't do due diligence or they just don't care, don't buy this fucking game. Or at the very, let's go ahead and start telling them, we're not going to fucking buy this game. It's not going to happen. No. Just don't waste your money on a game that's made by a company that we should not be supporting. Anyway, that's it for today. Sorry for the rambling, but again, these are topics that really do piss me off, and I do tend to go ahead and just say how I feel and say it the way I see it. That'll be it. If you enjoy the content, remember to like and subscribe down below. We'll catch you next time.